Reekin Havoc.
Reekin Havoc.
News, interviews, and more.
We just reek of Huntsville Havoc hockey.
Welcome back to the Reekin Havoc podcast. I'm Tim Lambert. October continues, and this week we go back a few years to catch up with former Channel Cats and Havoc forward Mike DeGurse. We'll also revisit another of Huntsville's greatest hits later on, as well as get you up to speed on the latest team news. Don't go away. The Reekin Havoc podcast continues.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
One of the worst feelings you can have is that of being stranded. Well, BT's towing, tire, and truck repair makes that a thing of the past, with 24/7 towing services and roadside assistance in the northern Alabama and southern Tennessee areas. But that's not all. They also offer truck and trailer repair, mobile welding, brake service and repair, new and used tires, and other major and minor repairs. Their name says it all, BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair. For 24/7 response, call 497-8234. That's 497-8234. BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair.
Athens Utilities comprises Athens Electric, Athens Gas, and Athens Water Services. Together, we are committed to providing reliable and affordable electricity, natural gas, and water and wastewater services. We operate as part of the City of Athens, and just like our city's motto of Athens is classic, Southern, character, we believe in supporting what makes our community special. Call 233-8750. Come by our office at 508 South Jefferson Street or look for the link online at athensal.us.
Got something to say? Put it on a t-shirt, or hoodie, or apron, or even an iPhone case. Just go to daddyoscustomtees.com and make it happen. Look through their selection of ready-made designs, or make one of your own. Check out their special hockey designs, too. With Daddy O's Custom Tees, you can truly have it your way. Look for Daddy O's Custom Tees on Facebook, follow them on Twitter or Instagram, or go online to daddyoscustomtees.com. That's DADDYOS Custom TEES.com. Daddy O's Custom Tees. They've got your back or front.
Let's go in
The slot.
Welcome back to the Reekin Havoc podcast. After several attempts, I was finally able to corral Mike DeGurse, former Channel Cats and Havoc forward, for our In the Slot segment. You had a birthday here not too long ago, just a few days ago, hit that half-century mark.
Yeah, that sure did.
And I can give you a hard time about that because I'm about 15 years older than you are. So,
that's all right. That's all right.
Young pup.
Feels good on me.
Yeah, I've been through those days. So let me just start like I do with everybody else. And I don't know if you've heard any of the other episodes or not, but I like to start with the story of the goose up until you get to Huntsville the first time.
Okay. Let's see. I grew up in a small Indian reservation in Ontario called Umjinung First Nation. So it was kind of a tight-knit community where everybody knows everybody, and sports was one of the outlets that all the kids played. I guess the two big sports that we played on my reserve were hockey and lacrosse. So I played both of those sports growing up. I was probably a better lacrosse player than a hockey player. Played my minor hockey in Sarnia and another little town called Moortown that's just outside of Sarnia, close to the reserve as well. So just had a lot of fun with the sport. I enjoyed the game. I loved everything about it. I used to look forward to, Saturday morning and getting to the rink and just that smell of the old Zamboni exhaust fumes back in the day. I don't know what they used to run on, but it's probably not good for the lungs. And just going out there and enjoying the game. I loved hockey. I loved watching hockey on television. Red Wings were my team back in the day. And that was before they got good. They were absolutely horrible when I was a huge Wings fan. Sometimes we'd have to go to Detroit and catch a couple games every year with my dad. And I don't think hockey got kind of serious, I guess, until junior, I guess. Yeah. My midget team went to the All-Ontarios, and I think that summer I started getting letters from junior teams to come and try out. So I did that whole thing and cracked the lineup and played 3 or 4 years in junior, 4 I guess, and just really enjoyed it. Still love playing at that level. It was a lot of fun. I played on some really good teams. I think my last 2 years, we only lost. I played on some wicked junior teams. We only lost a few games, 10 games a year. So it was just a great experience.
You said your midget team went to the Ontarios. What's the Ontarios?
Like a state championship, I guess.
Okay. Did you have any other members of your family that played hockey?
Yeah, my dad was a pretty good player. He played in Canada and a little bit in Europe, and he was a coach as well as a player. Played a bunch of years in the senior hockey league there, and he won the Allen Cup, which is the All Canadian Championship. I think once as a player and twice as a coach. So he was a good coach and a real good player as well.
Did he ever coach you? That laugh kind of answered my question.
He coached me my second year junior, I think, maybe my first. I don't really remember. Yeah, he was a tough coach. He was good. We had a very lunchbox type team. Yeah, he was a coach, and he was the coach at the rink, and then he'd be dad once we got back home. But yeah, he was a hard coach.
Now you mentioned playing lacrosse too, and you might have said something about this, but what was it about hockey that you said you might have been a better lacrosse player, but what was it about hockey that made you make that decision?
Well, it wasn't really much of a decision. I played them both, took them both as far as can go. There's not really much with lacrosse as far as making any money is concerned. I know Chris George used to go out west and play in the summers, but after a hockey season, the last thing I wanted to do was pack up my bags and head to some other city in Canada to play lacrosse. So,
did you? Those the only two sports? I mean, did you ever play anything else?
Yeah, I was a pitcher in baseball, lacrosse, baseball. That's about it. Hockey.
Okay. What about sports heroes? Do you have any of those growing up? Maybe that you wanted to, maybe you just liked or model your game after or something?
I liked kind of the grittier players in the league back in the day. A lot of them are coaches now in the NHL. Rick Tocchet, I like the way he played. I think he's the coach in Vancouver now. Craig Berube, he's in Toronto, the Chief. He was a Native American as well. So a lot of the Native American players that played in the NHL I liked. So those were kind of the players I gravitated towards cheering on.
Oh, now you played the left wing. Now, was that maybe the only position that you wanted to play? Maybe you wanted to be a goalie.
Well, that's a great question because I did want to be a goalie. Especially when I was younger. I think my father took me down in the basement and had a dozen tennis balls and fired them at me, and then I didn't want to be a goalie anymore after that day. So, but I did play defense. I played in defense until I think I was my second year junior. And then that was the year my dad was coaching me, and he moved me up to forward, and he just thought it was a better fit for me. Back when I grew up, if you didn't skate well, or, I was a chubby kid, so defense was where you got stuck back in the day. If you weren't a super fast skater, I was just kind of a big choppy kid. Kind of like a bull in a china shop when I was young, so yeah. I played defense until I was 18. I played defense all the way through.
Oh, okay. Well, you might have filled up that goal, too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think goalie was great. He was right about that.
Yeah. I don't get too many guys saying, "Yeah, I wanted to be a goalie," that ended up not being a goalie. Now looking at your timeline here on, I go to eliteprospects.com most of the time to kind of see where guys have been, and it looks like you just skipped right on over college and went to the pros.
Well, I think my third year, junior maybe, I played in a place called St. Mary's. We went on a recruiting trip with a bunch of the guys to Western Michigan Broncos. And we went down there for a weekend and watched a game, and I just wasn't something that it looked like I wanted to do, was go to school there for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I was going to school already back home in Ontario and just kind of kept doing what I was doing. I wasn't planning on playing past my last year junior. I kind of just fell into it.
Okay. All right. So it just lists everybody, the Petrolia Jets and St. Mary's there in the WOHL. So I just thought that was junior hockey.
Yeah.
It's not listing any schools, So I thought maybe that's what you did. So.
I went on a recruiting trip. I don't know. College hockey wasn't really big back when I was younger in those ages, and I don't know. Just going to school and full time and trying to play hockey as well didn't sound fun to me. It was probably a good idea, but
now
wasn't me.
The Winston-Salem Mammoths, they're stuck in between the Jets and the Channel Cats. What in the SHL?
Okay, so yeah, after my last year junior, I got an invite to go to camping for the Johnstown Chiefs in the East Coast League. So that's where I started. Went to Johnstown. Actually, I got a call before I went to Johnstown from Hershey in the American League to go to their camp first. And I probably should have done that, because as soon as the Philadelphia Flyers started sending guys down at their camp, they send guys to Hershey. Hershey sends guys to Johnstown. And then Johnstown, the camp was full. I think I was there for maybe 10 days, played a couple games, played okay, and ended up finding a spot in Winston-Salem. The coach called the coach down there and said, I got a guy. And so I was either going to go home or go to Winston-Salem. So, I went that far. So I decided to go down to Winston and check it out. And I really enjoyed it. I ended up getting called up later in the year, but I didn't report because I was having, so much fun in Winston-Salem. It was just a good vibe, good coach. John Anderson was our coach, and he ended up going on to the NHL and coaching for a bunch of years. And, he played the NHL for a bunch of years as well. So, we ended up playing Huntsville in the championship that year, and they ended up beating us in 5 or 6 games or something like that. But that's kind of what got me into Huntsville, was playing, when I played for Winston, playing against Huntsville. And then the next year when the SHL folded, the Central League had a bunch of expansion teams join the Central, and Huntsville was one of them. So I got a call that summer from Coach Larry Floyd, and that's where I went the next year.
Okay, and I was going to ask you how you made it to Huntsville, but it sounds like they remembered you from the year before.
Yeah. We played them a bunch. We probably played them, 15 times, maybe more. And we always played some hard games, and I play kind of a hard-nosed game as well. So Larry brought me on board. It was a good fit. They had a great core here, and just it was just a really good start.
When I've talked to some of your teammates, John Gibson, Jonathan Dubois, Chris George, Phil Daigle, you talk about being a hard-nosed player. They talk about those teams being, that was the reputation of the team, and some of your opponents might get what they called the Huntsville flu, before they had to meet up with you guys.
You know what? The whole league and the minors in general were pretty rugged back then. there was no one-dimensional players, so you had to be, if you weren't tough or played with any grit, you wouldn't last very long. You'd get run out of the league. So, we'd have like Chris George, for example, like he would score 50 goals a year, and he would have to drop the gloves 4 or 5 times a year as well. Same with Dubois. He would score a bunch, and he would fight an awful lot. So it was just a different time, different game. The leagues, like I said, all the leagues were pretty rugged back then. So to stick around and continue to play, you had to bring that type of game.
Now, Winston,
you had to bring that type of energy to the game every night.
Winston-Salem, that I guess that's considered a southern location there. What was your expectation about hockey in the South?
I didn't really know anything about it. I was coming into the whole thing totally blind, so I just played for fun, and as long as I was having fun, I was just ride it and see wherever it went, and that seemed to be work for me, and I was pretty successful with that attitude. So I thought the South hockey in the South really blew up during the 90s, mid to late 90s. There was teams everywhere. So I just enjoyed it. Winston-Salem, my first thought about that, I think you could smoke in the arena back then, and it was like right in tobacco country, so I thought that was a little different. But I just enjoyed it. The people were great, and the players got treated well. And I mean, I'm still in the South, so I love it down there.
Well, now the Channel Cats, you were there for 4 years, looks like, and so yeah, evidently you enjoyed it early on. I know you were, you talked about playing forward on the ice, but were you, and you talked about everybody being, rough and tumble. Did you have a particular role that you played, other than your position?
Not really. I think my role would have, so for me, for the type of player I was, my role would change the higher level I played. So that wasn't always enticing for me to play at a AAA level where my role would maybe be more one-dimensional. In the Central League, like at the AA level, I got to play, I got to score, power play. I would still fight, and if you'd probably see my penalty minutes where I got a crap ton of those. So I'd get a lot of majors, and it was just, I just liked to play the game how I played it, and that was great. Don't think I realized that until 98. I think it was 98. I signed with the Las Vegas Thunder in the old IHL AAA level, and then that summer I got a call from the Calgary Flames and went to their training camp in 98. So I could see that I was, once I started looking at the business part of it and seeing how things changed for me, I just didn't make sense for me to play at the AAA level and maybe on a fourth line, more of a one-dimensional, two-dimensional player, and making less money. Back in the day, you could make decent money in the Central League. So I made more money, went back to Huntsville after I got released from Calgary. I couldn't go to Vegas because Vegas was Phoenix's farm club, and because I went to Calgary, that was the whole thing. And Calgary wanted to send me to, there was St. John was their American League team, and then Johnstown was their East Coast League team. So they wanted to send me to Johnstown, and if you remember earlier, I'd been there before, and it wasn't a place that I ever wanted to go back to. So I ended up coming back to Huntsville with all my teammates and friends that I made over the previous 2 or 3 years.
Well, now you talked about, and we keep going back to this, the rugged player, and I went out there and looked for fights. And I want you to tell us maybe the story of maybe a fight or fights that you maybe stand out more to you. I did see video of Mike DeGurse versus the Fayetteville Fire Ants bench.
I don't remember that one, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, I played hard. And I'm not the greatest skater, so in order for me to get any kind of room out front, I got good hands. I needed to, establish a reputation that I was going to be a rugged player and fight for my ice, and I did that, and it worked out well for me my entire career. I never hated dropping the gloves. I liked fighting, to be honest with you. You're pretty much, when you drop the gloves and square off with someone, it's kind of a rush, and it's nerve wracking. And I mean, some people say that doesn't scare them, but I don't know if I believe that. It might not be the fear of the actual fight, but I mean, you don't want to get dropped in front of your home crowd with 2 or 3, 4, 5,000 people there. That's kind of embarrassing. So that might be a little bit where the nerves come in.
Yeah.
But hey, nothing feels. The only thing I scored a lot of goals too, and there's no better feeling on the ice besides winning a championship, of course. Than sitting in the box for 5 after a good kill.
Is there one particular one maybe that you can remember that you can kind of recap the situation?
Not really. They're pretty much, it's all the same story. You know who's coming to town, and you check the game notes, and if there's a guy on the other team that has as many penalty minutes as you, and you're standing beside him on a face-off, there's a good chance that it's going down.
We'll be back with more of the Reekin Havoc podcast.
My name is Joel, and I came to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in December of 1987 to be treated for osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. We didn't know anything about St. Jude. We didn't know what they meant, or that, when we got here, what we would do, how it would be taken care of. And when we arrived, we found out that my family wasn't going to have to pay for any of my treatment, not for my medicine, not for travel, not for housing, not for food. St. Jude was going to cover all that. St. Jude supported me in every way, from, taking that financial burden off my parents to making sure that all of my family was included in this time. St. Jude literally means everything to me. I get to go home to my family tonight. I get to cook dinner for them. That's what you're giving. You are giving us everything by supporting St. Jude. So thank you so much.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Want to howl with the Havoc this season? Now's your chance from Applebee's Tailgate Talk and the Reekin Havoc podcast. Just go to ReekinHavoc.com and click on Howl with the Havoc to register, then listen to Tailgate Talk on Saturday mornings as we announce the winners of Huntsville Havoc tickets. Howl with the Havoc this season from the Huntsville Havoc, Tailgate Talk, and the Reekin Havoc podcast.
Hey, this is John Lounsbury, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
You were with Channel Cats for about 4 years, and then you went away for a few years, and then came back after looks like about 4 years for, I guess, the last year of the Channel Cats. So looks like you went to Topeka there at the end of your last season with the Channel Cats. Was that a deal where maybe you got traded and helped them finish off a season, or?
Yeah, me and John Gibson got traded at the end of the year, and I think it was 99 or 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we got traded to Topeka for a playoff push, and I think we played 10 or 12 games or something like that. And then the next year after that, I think I went to Shreveport with the Mudbugs in the old Western Professional Hockey League. That was a really good league. We won the championship there that year. 98, 99, we won the championship with Huntsville. So this is my second, championship in the minors. So that was a lot of fun in Shreveport. They just built a brand new arena there that we played in Bossier. I think it was like a 14,000 seat arena. So brand new, first class. It was a fun year. They had a winning culture in Shreveport, similar to what we had in Huntsville. So, I fit in perfect with those players and those guys there. And, it was just a nice little change of scenery going into another league. And a lot of those teams now in the old Central League and the Western Pro League are in the East Coast League now, or ECHL, whatever they call it. So, yeah, a little tour around Texas and Louisiana and all those estates down there. It was a lot of fun. A lot of old rodeo barns. Austin, you used to have to walk through outside through like a stable to get into the arena. It was different for sure, but I definitely enjoyed my time there, and it was fun. I went to Corpus Christi the next year on the beach. I was liking that. It didn't work out, and ended up going back home and going back to school.
Okay, and I was wondering about that because looking at 2001, 2002, you mentioned Corpus Christi. I mean, according to this, you were only there for like 8 games, and then went to Petrolia and played 12 there. So, I didn't know if there was maybe an injury that was going on that kind of kept you out of action or what.
No, I was just felt it was time to turn the page on the game and wanted to go back home and finish school, and went back home and ended up playing for the senior team in Petrolia. I played 10 games there or something. It wasn't a lot of fun, so I ended up going to University in Montreal and playing a year in the Quebec League with the Chief de Laval, the Laval Chiefs, and that was definitely an experience for sure. That was a pretty tough league. That's probably playing in that league is probably why I can't really pick out any fights that stand out, because there was fights in that league every night. I mean, each game would probably start out with 4 or 5 fights before 10 seconds were played in the game. So that was a rough and tumble league. It's kind of where all the players and the entire minors got together at the end of their careers and played some hockey.
Well, after that, I guess you weren't ready to turn the page all the way. You came back to Huntsville.
Yeah, I signed. I think I signed a 3-year deal in Laval. Played 1 year, and then Gibby ended up getting the coaching job back in Huntsville. And I kind of missed it here. Didn't really want to go back to Laval, and got with Gibby, and he said, "Come on down," and we started it up again. Huntsville Channel Cats came back after couple 3-year hiatus, and it was in a new league and kind of similar to like how the Southern League was back in the 90s, and it was a lot of fun. We got a couple players that I played with in the past, James Patterson and Matt Carmichael and myself. We're kind of like the leadership group there, and then it's kind of like a second part of my career where I made a bunch of new friends throughout my next 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it was.
Well, you end your playing days in Huntsville. What was it that made you finally decide to keep that page turned this time around?
Yeah, well, I was pushing in my 30s, so it was time to find something else to do. Hockey wasn't doing it for me anymore, so it was time to move on to the next part of your career and find something you like doing. And I wanted to stay in Huntsville, so I was looking for opportunities here and found some, and I've been here ever since.
Well, now going back to the playing days, were there any rituals that you had? I mean, you may be a superstitious guy, you may not be. I don't know, but some guys, even if they say they're not superstitious, they still like to do certain things the same way every time.
Just kind of had my routine. Just you get your pregame skate, have lunch, probably the same thing for lunch if you can, and get to the rink at a certain time, tape your sticks. Just kind of a routine more than superstition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was more of a routine guy. Get there early, tape my sticks, have a coffee. I like being at the rink. I like being in the room, and I love being around the guys. So that was nothing major superstitious, I don't think, but more routine guy.
Yeah. Sometimes you just like to do it just to be safe.
Yeah, right? I'd be afraid I'd do something and then like something crazy and then score 3 goals and then have to do that every game. It's just too much.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of the opposite. Doing something and everything just falling apart. Well, now, while you were in Huntsville, was there a certain team that you maybe got a little extra enjoyment out of beating?
So with the Central League, we used to have great battles with the Columbus Cottonmouths. So that was kind of our big rivalry. Really enjoyed playing them. They had a team that was built just like ours, and neither one of the teams would give an inch. So you knew you were always in for a tough game against them. So that we're really equally matched. I think they won the championship in 97. We won it in 98. So on the east side, like the East Division, I guess, it was either us or them. But I also really enjoyed beating Oklahoma City on the West Division. Because Oklahoma City would get like 12,000 fans a game, and, they were first place, and, the Bad Cats would come to town, and we just, for some reason, played on another level, and we were able to have success against that club.
Okay.
I think for the SPHL, I would say, I think it was Knoxville. We used to have some good battles with Knoxville. They were a elite team in the league as well back then, and it would have to be Knoxville for the SPHL.
They've got a theme night for every night now. How much of that did they do, back in the day?
I don't think we did much of it. If any of it in the Central or the WPHL, I started seeing a little bit of that in the SPHL, where they did the theme type night things. So, yeah, I don't remember a whole bunch of it back in the Central or the Whipple.
Did they do much as far as with the fans like they do now? Maybe getting the team together to do some kind of community thing with the fans?
Oh, yeah, there was all kinds of that. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into, community outreach, especially in the old Central League, and laying the foundation for what you see today with the great support from the fans. The players were out in the community a lot. Chris George is still involved with his charity, and he has one of the nights where they do the Melissa George game.
Mm-hmm. So
those are a lot of my old teammates that were out in the community, 20 years ago, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
And and you know what? I got season tickets to the Havoc. Me and Gibson and Daggle have a ice suite and Mark Vachon down by the ice, and I see a lot of fans that are still there supporting and cheering that used to watch me play. So it's nice to be able to get back to the old BBC and talk to all those folks, and a lot of them are friends of ours today. And back in the day, a lot of people really enjoyed going to the hockey games, and we met a lot of people in town, because when we first got here, maybe hockey wasn't as popular as it is today. And as we'd make friends out in the community, we'd give them tickets to get them hooked, so to speak, and they'd come down and love the sport, and they'd tell a friend, and it just kind of grew into what it is today. I go down to the games today and just have a great time. The arena's packed, the fans are loud. It's just a excellent place to watch a hockey game. I'm so fortunate that we do have that here in Huntsville.
And those tickets are harder to get this year than they have been. Well, they had all these sellouts last year, and
that's why we get the season tickets. Mm-hmm. So we're not trying to find a ticket if we want to go. So,
yeah,
that's right.
So, what did you like to do in between playing and practicing? I mean, like in your downtime.
I think I'd like to tell you I'd like to go to the gym and keep in top physical condition, but that's probably not 100% true. I like to get out on the golf course and just kind of unwind and relax and be outside and play golf with the boys.
I figured that's what you were going to say. That seems to be a really popular answer. With some of the older guys now, these younger guys, they like to play these video games too. So what are you doing these days?
Just I have a job here locally, work for one of the defense contractors here in Huntsville, and just living that, regular fun life. It's great. I was ready for a change from Huntsville, being home for Christmas now and Thanksgiving. I've obviously hadn't been playing for years, but that was a big change, and just having that 9-to-5 schedule and being able to enjoy my life away from hockey. So it's been a lot of fun. I got a lot of friends that still live here. So, like the Chris Georges and the Jason DeGurse and the, obviously Gibby and Phil and Mark Vachon. We got a good group of old players in my era that still live here and call Huntsville their home. So, we get together when we can and we get out on the golf course and tell each other how great we used to be and have a few beers and just have fun.
You say you work for a defense company. Is that something that you went to school for, or?
Yeah, well, this is so I went to school for business, but it might not directly correlate to what I do now. But just being in Huntsville with the opportunities here, So I don't think if I wasn't here that would be something that a field that I would have fell into. But being here with the opportunities here, it's just lucky for me. It all worked out and came together when my career was over. So, I've been doing this now for 15 years and away from the game. And I was trying to remember today of, some hockey stories or even my career for that matter, because I don't think about it that much anymore. So it was, nice to be able to touch base with you and kind of remember a little bit about it.
So did any come to mind that you can tell us about?
I don't know. Just the highlights here in Huntsville were obviously that championship in '98, and then we also won the championship against Knoxville in 2003. So those were some good memories here in Huntsville. Just winning at any level is an accomplishment and a lot of fun, and you just kind of develop a good great bond with your teammates when you go through that and win the championship. So. Back in the Central League days, playoff series were best of 7, so 4 out of 7. So playoffs would last for months, and it was a grind and a battle. I think nowadays playoffs are a little bit shorter, and I kind of just liked just being an old school guy. I like those 4 out of 7 series because that's where you can really develop some rivalries.
Yeah. And a lot of fans, once playoff time comes, and I can remember this year that some of them were fussing about not being able to go 5 games, and they just didn't get that. Well, the VBC is only available, for limited stretches of time. You've got Disney on Ice and all those other things to deal with, so. That might not have been the case back in the day, too.
Yeah, well, that's an issue that we have locally with having the availability of our arena. But I don't know if that holds true for the rest of the league. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But I know I've been a part of series where they were very strategic about the games and how they would schedule them. Sometimes you'd play 3 games at another team's arena instead of the 2-2, 1-1-1. So I don't know if there was options. Somehow it worked. It was a lot of fun being a part of all that. So, but hey, I still like going to the playoffs now.
Oh yeah,
in Huntsville, they're very exciting, and of course the boys never disappoint. They always take us far, and they almost pulled it off for us again last year. And we got a couple banners hanging in the rafters for the couple championships. So that's great to see.
Well, now, what were your thoughts early in the season last year? Because I know a lot of folks were they were surprised that they made it as far as they did when they compared it to the way things looked early in the season.
I wasn't totally surprised. You had a coaching change and Stu and his staff. Sometimes it takes time for a change like that to go there and establish what his identity was going to be. And sometimes that takes time, and obviously by the end of the year, the team had bought into it and just fell a little short, but we can be excited for this season, knowing where they left off last year, and hopefully they can take it all the way this year.
Yeah. So I've come to the part of my interview that I call my puck out of play questions, and they're not intended to be hockey related, but sometimes they will circle around depending on the answer that I get. So here we go. Your favorite movie or TV show, or both, or maybe what you're streaming?
Favorite TV show, 90 Day Fiancé. Favorite show.
Okay. That's a new one on me.
Movie, yeah. It's good. It's a good watch for sure. Definitely. Movie, I was a Star Wars guy, so I like all the Star Wars movies.
Okay, there you go. I do know where you're coming from there. Favorite food?
Chicken wings.
Chicken wings. All right.
Chicken wings and beer.
Is there? Do you have a favorite music group or artist or music genre?
So I guess in the 90s the genre was grunge. So a lot of my bands that I like are from that era. The Pearl Jams, Nirvanas, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, all that kind of stuff. But my favorite band, being an old Canadian boy, is obviously the Tragically Hip.
Okay. Somebody else told me the Tragically Hip. I can't remember who it was. All right. Are you much of a reader?
Not unless I have to for work. I don't read for fun anymore.
Okay. Okay. We'll skip that one then.
Do audiobooks count?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
I don't do those either.
Oh, okay. All right. One last thing here, and this kind of stumps folks sometimes. Is there any Mike DeGurse trivia that you can pass along? Something not a whole lot of people know about you?
I have no idea. I'm stumped. Yeah.
I should have
stumped on that one.
I should have sent you a text to maybe give you time to think about that. Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking out this time to talk with me this week.
Well, thanks. I'm glad we got a chance to catch up.
Yeah. I hear all these, I talk to all these former teammates of yours, and they always talk about Goose this and Goose that. But is there one of those maybe that sticks out as being maybe more, I don't know, outrageous than the other? I'd be lying if I said nothing comes to mind, but nothing that I really want to share. Some of those stories, you just got to turn the page and let them go. Okay. If you weren't there, I'm not telling them. Well, and I don't mean necessarily a story, but I mean any of your teammates that just seemed like it was nothing you wouldn't put past them.
Back in the day, we had a whole league of those kind of guys. There's all kinds of characters in the leagues, and especially on our team. So, a lot of us coming in at the same time, coming into pro hockey at the same time, we were all coming in under the same circumstance, and we ended up playing together for a couple, 3 years, and a lot of those guys are the guys that I call my friends today. So the sport's been really good to me. I just love it. I got a trivia question for you though.
Okay.
Actually,
okay.
One just came to mind.
Okay.
Who is the best referee hockey official in Huntsville, Alabama?
I don't know if there is one.
Yes, me.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So after I forgot about that. Yeah, after I finished playing, there was a need. I might not be the best. We'll just say I'm the one telling the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a need for officials here in Huntsville, and I've had daughters, so my daughters don't play hockey, and there was an opportunity there for me to give back to the sport locally, and got involved in officiating, and I've been reffing for the better part of 10, getting close on 10 years now.
Wow.
I do a lot of the local minor hockey. I do the college stuff that they have here, and sometimes down in Pelham with the University of Alabama and all the programs they got down there. I did the junior league when they had a team in Point Mallard, the North American 3 League or whatever it was. So, yeah, just been really enjoying officiating. I do hockey as well as lacrosse here locally. I do the high school lacrosse here as well. So, just staying involved in the sports community and being able to give back to a sport that's given so much to me has been a lot of fun here.
Well, that's neat. Whenever you ask me
I did an SPHL game. You know what? I did an SPHL game, too. I was a linesman in the SPHL game. I don't know. I think that was about 3 years ago, maybe 4. I don't really remember, but that was a lot of fun as well.
Where was that?
That was in Huntsville.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I was the linesman, and I was coming in real slow to break up the fights, trying to get one going. So.
Oh, well, thanks again for your time.
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, and we'll see you at the ring.
All righty. That was former Channel Cats and Havoc forward Mike DeGurse. Thanks again to him for his time. The Reekin Havoc podcast will be right back.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Join us now for Huntsville's greatest hits, where current and former players recount their most memorable dropping of the gloves.
Former forward Cheech Powers.
My first year, we ended up having a huge brawl with Bacon. There was a little situation towards the end of the game, a little stick in the face, that then turned into a kind of a bench clearing brawl that resulted in a few suspensions.
We'll be back with the Reekin Havoc podcast.
In June of 2005, our twin girls were delivered, Melissa and Ann Catherine, and they were born 14 weeks early.
Amy and Chris George talk about the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund.
They both weighed less than 2 pounds. Ann Catherine was 115 and Melissa was 1'9". Melissa lived for a couple of hours, but all of the medical technology in the world just could not have saved her, and she passed away while she was in the NICU. Chris realized pretty early that God had given us a platform that we could use to try to help people. So Chris and I started the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund at Huntsville Hospital.
To know that Melissa's name is living on, her legacy continues, and I think that was very important to Amy and I, is why the fund is named after her. Because for 7 weeks, Melissa fought so that Aunt Catherine would have a chance to live. And I think that we wouldn't be doing her name any justice if we didn't carry on, because we know we wanted to honor her and honor her legacy. And the community, Huntsville Havoc, the community in Huntsville itself, they've rallied around that. And it's been a wonderful support system for us. And I think for a lot of families, too, when they see total strangers that are giving.
We're online at HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org. Click on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, and you can give that way.
There's no donation that's too small, and every dollar is just as important as the next one. And if you're giving, then we understand you're giving because you care. And that's what's important, is that we've learned over the years that people give because they care.
And you can volunteer. If you're interested in that, you can click on the volunteer tab to fill out an application. We are grateful for any type of support, because we know that once we pull those dollars together, we can do big things.
For more information on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, visit HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org.
Hey, this is Benito Poza, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
The Havoc signed defenseman Brody Thornton, a 6'1" defenseman from Macomb Township, Michigan, for his first professional season. He played in 110 games and scored 72 points with Adrian College, winning a national championship last year before signing with the Binghamton Black Bears of the FPHL at the end of his collegiate season. Training camp continues through October 15th. On-ice training camp sessions will be open to the public at the Huntsville Ice Sports Center Monday and Tuesday from 10:20 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. Game day fan experiences are available. You can sit on the bench during warm-ups before heading to the players' tunnel to send the team to the locker room while receiving a commemorative badge and a game-specific puck. Also take a post-game slap shot on the ice and get a commemorative badge, or have your group or birthday message displayed on the new video boards inside Probst Arena. More experiences will be announced as we get closer to the season as well. For more information, go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com under Fan Zone and click on Fan Experiences. The annual Meet the Team party will be October 21st from 5 till 7 p.m. for both season ticket holders and the general public. In addition to meeting the team, season ticket holders can pick up their gifts. There will be a backstage tour of the VBC. You'll get a preview of the recently installed giant video boards, and there will be complimentary food. Go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com to RSVP. The first annual School Day Showcase will be Wednesday, February 26th. It's an inter-squad game and skills competition starting at 10:30 a.m., incorporating educational elements to provide a unique learning experience for students. Tickets are $15 and include a free ticket to any home game in March, with the exception of the 29th, with 2 free tickets per class for teachers and or chaperones. For more information, go online to HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on School Day Showcase.
Do you have an idea for the Reekin Havoc podcast? Email us at reekinhavoc@outlook.com. That's REEKIN havoc@outlook.com. Send a Facebook message to the Reekin Havoc page or leave us a voicemail or text at 256-434-RKKN. That's 256-434-7556.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
For those returning from military service, the transition back to civilian life isn't always easy. Retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Bill Cook talks about still serving veterans.
The mission of still serving veterans is to serve and honor veterans and their families by empowering them to build meaningful lives. And we do that through connecting to fulfilling careers, getting the benefits they deserve, or the services that they need. We have never charged anybody anything for our services. A group of business leaders in town felt there was a need to help the seriously wounded make that transition back into civilian life. Employment services, VA benefits, and connections to other community services. That's what we do. If you're a veteran and you need help, please get a hold of us. Go to that website, ssb.org, and you can find out pretty much anything you need to know about still serving veterans.
In Huntsville, call 256-883-7035. For tickets, official Huntsville Havoc merchandise, and more, go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com. Visit our website at ReekinHavoc.com. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads. And listen, follow, and subscribe to the Reekin Havoc podcast on your favorite platform to keep up with the only weekly podcast covering the Huntsville Havoc, the Reekin Havoc podcast.